record this webinar. We are now streaming live on YouTube. We'll make sure to share that link across all of our Facebook pages. But we are live on YouTube, and we will share that link in the chat so you can send to your membership as well. We apologize for the technical difficulty and the change. I'm going to ask everyone to take a look at their phone and their computer and make sure they're on mute one more time. I do hear some background noise. And Karina, pass it off to you to get us started.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fund Excluded Workers Town Hall. This is the second of 3 virtual town halls for excluded workers in New York State. Just to echo Angeles, before we get started, please mute yourself if you're not being asked to speak currently. And for folks who are going to be speaking throughout the program, please take care to speak slowly to allow for simultaneous interpretation. Today's town hall will be featuring the testimonies of workers from Manhattan, the Bronx, Westchester, and from the Mid-Hudson area who have been excluded from every level of relief of government. This town hall was organized by Nobody Leaves Mid-Hudson, by Make the Road, New York Nail Salon Workers Association, Endalon, the Laundry Workers Center, the Restaurant Opportunity Center United, and the Street Vendor Project as part of a coalition of 84 organizations who have come together from across New York State to fight for the needs of our communities who have been the most impacted by COVID-19 and by the accompanying economic crisis that has only continued to worsen for immigrant and working class New Yorkers, for cash economy workers, and for small businesses. We've come together because we refuse to live in a country or in a state where a 9-digit number decides whether you live or you die. And today we are calling on our state elected officials to do the same. New York State must take action now to ensure that our immigrant communities are able to make it out of this crisis alive. Excluding our undocumented migrants and mixed status families from disaster relief now is discriminatory, and it's nothing less than a human rights violation. Today, we're calling on our state legislators who've joined us and Governor Cuomo to create a worker bailout fund, which would provide workers who've been excluded from unemployment and federal tax rebates, and small businesses like street vendors who lack documentation to apply for relief, with flat rate monthly cash payments equivalent to what a typical low-wage worker is receiving via unemployment insurance at this time. This would be funded by enacting a mark-to-market billionaire wealth tax, which would bring in an estimated $5.5 billion this year. There are 112 billionaires in New York State. There is absolutely no reason that any single person should be without adequate relief. And with that, we're launching into today's program. We're going to be hearing from community members Cecilia Davila, Jose Alberto Rios Lopez, Luz Sanchez, Juan Carlos Landa, Martin Hernandez, and Araceli Torres about how COVID-19 has affected them and their demands for their state legislators. We'll also hear from some elected representatives who are here with us today. And I want to acknowledge those who are on the call with us. So thank you to Senator Brad Hoylman, to Assembly Member Carmen de la Rosa, who is the lead assembly sponsor of the legislation that would be establishing the Workers' Fund we're calling for tonight. Hello to Assembly Member Karines Reyes, Assembly Member Phil Steck, Assembly Member Harvey Epstein, and then if you are a legislator or a legislator staff member that we haven't acknowledged yet, please let us know in the chat so that we can also acknowledge you here tonight. So we're going to kick it off with our first speaker. We're going to be hearing from Cecilia Davila, who is a member of the Laundry Workers Center. Cecilia, when you're ready. I think Cecilia may be muted. Cecilia, ¿Puedes escuchar?
Sí,
Ah, ok.
¿ya puedo dar mi testimonio?
Sí, por favor.
Ok. Mi nombre es Cecilia Dávila. Soy trabajadora esencial de lavandería y miembro del Centro de Trabajadores de Lavandería. Yo soy residente del Bronx. Como trabajadora esencial de lavandería, la pandemia ha tenido un efecto negativo para mí y para mi familia. Estuve enferma, tuve que tomar días de enfermedad sin recibir pago. Además de que no nos roban el salario, el empleador no nos da mascarillas ni guantes. Tenemos que lavar la ropa de las personas que posiblemente estén infectadas con el COVID y no lo sabemos. Lo peor es que tenemos que trabajar sin adecuada protección. Estos días he estado bajo mucho estrés porque nos han recortado horas y nos han incrementado la cuota de trabajo. Antes teníamos que doblar de 60 libras por hora a 80 libras por hora. Las trabajadoras de lavandería somos esenciales, pero no recibimos ningún tipo de apoyo económico, ya que como inmigrantes estamos excluidas por esta administración. Yo pago mis impuestos y contribuyo a la economía de este país. No es justo que estemos excluidas. Demandamos un alivio económico para todos los trabajadores esenciales, inmigrantes e indocumentados.
So my name is Cecilia.
Rosanna, could you mind trying again? So Rosanna, I think we're having a little trouble hearing you. So I'm gonna read what Cecilia was saying in English.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, now you're back.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Perfect. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Cecilia Davila. I am a laundry worker and a member of the Laundry Workers Center. I'm a resident of the Bronx. As an essential worker in the laundromat industry, the pandemic has hurt my family and myself. I was sick and I have to take sick days without pay. In addition to stealing our wages, the employer do not give us masks or gloves. We have to wash the clothes of people who possibly are infected with COVID-19, and we don't know. The worst thing is that we have to work without adequate protection. These days, I have been under a lot of stress because the employer have cut the hours and increased our work quota. Before I have to fall 60 pounds per hour, and now I have to fall 80 pounds per hour. Laundry workers are essential, but we do not receive any financial support. Since as an immigrant, we are excluded by this administration. I pay taxes and contribute to the economy of this country. We are excluded, and it is unfair. We demand economic relief for all essential workers, immigrant and undocumented workers. Thank you. 60 pounds per hour.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Cecilia. Like Cecilia, 36% of cleaning service employees in New York City do not have citizenship status. It is absolutely unconscionable that our essential workers who are keeping New York City running are paying taxes and yet have been abandoned by all levels of government and are continuing to suffer from stolen wages. So I want to acknowledge, before moving on to our next speaker, I want to acknowledge that we're joined by Matthew Levy of Senator Robert Jackson's office and Laura Nordstrom from Assemblymember Kevin Cahill's office. Thank you for joining. And a reminder to all that if you are not speaking, to please put yourself on mute. Thank you. So we're going to transition to our second speaker, Jose Alberto Rios Lopez, who is a member of Make the Road. Say when you're ready. Jose, I think you might be on mute.
Bueno, José, te vemos, pero no te escuchamos. Entonces, si me permites, voy a leer su testimonio en inglés. Y si le funciona el micrófono, lo podemos hacer en español. Y'all, Jose Rios is here having some technical difficulties, but what I'll do is read his testimony for now. My name is Jose Alberto. I have lived and worked as a restaurant worker in White Plains for over 2 decades. I'm a member of Make the Road New York, and I live in Andrea Stewart Cousins District. The COVID-19 crisis has had a devastating impact on me, my family, and my community. On March 16th, I was laid off from my job at a large restaurant on Mamaroneck Avenue. The restaurant didn't provide us with advance warning, sick or severance pay, and has not told us if or when we will go back to work. I've been going out to look for work since then, but I have not found a new job and I have not had any income for over 2 months. My partner works at the same restaurant and has also been out of work. My community is struggling. My partner and I, my brother, and like so many in our neighborhood have been getting food donations from the Make the Road office. One of my neighbors does not even have diapers for her 2-month-old baby. Latino immigrants in Westchester have provided so much to our communities, and we need and deserve more support. I am angry that billionaires in New York are getting richer while my family goes hungry. Please pass legislation to ensure we can survive this crisis.
Sí. Bueno.
José,
Sí,
si quisieras compartir unas palabras, adelante.
Sí, no sé si me escuchan, gente. Buenas tardes. Antes que nada, gracias por la invitación y por ser optimistas, por tratar de hacer algo para la comunidad, para la gente que en realidad la necesita, para la gente que está aislada, ¿verdad? Literalmente, vamos a llamarla así. Pues es evidente que la crisis del COVID-19 está afectando de una manera a muchas personas, a la comunidad, pero bueno, estamos tratando buscando la forma de ser optimistas, como lo había dicho, y pues tratar de hacer lo que esté en nuestro alcance de nuestras manos y pues para adelante. Seguimos y pues no sé si deba leer mi testimonio si deba decir mi testimonio en español. No sé, Ángeles Solís, si sea necesario.
Lo que puedo hacer, José, es compartir las palabras que acaba de compartir, traducir las palabras que acaba de traducir y sí leí tu testimonio.
Estupendo.
So José, gracias, José.
Gracias.
I'll just quickly translate for José. He shared, thank you for sharing his testimony. And he just wanted to add on and say that it's been difficult. This is incredibly difficult for him and so many others. It's evident that this crisis has impacted us, hurt so many of us in the community. We're looking for ways to be optimistic and keep fighting and do what we can onwards, but we need your support. Gracias, Jose. Thank you, Karina.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for speaking up and for all that you have provided for your community. And we are absolutely fighting alongside you to make sure that our immigrant communities are receiving the support that they so rightfully deserve, rather than the billionaires or even trillionaires like Jeff Bezos, who have been profiting off of this crisis. And I'd like to welcome Evan Weinberg from Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal's office, who's just joined us. And we're going to pass the mic off to our third speaker, Vanessa from Nobody Leaves Mid-Hudson, who will be speaking on behalf of Luz Sanchez.
Thank you, Karina. Hello, good evening, everyone. Our lovely member who could not be with us here today, in fear of retaliation from her employer, definitely wanted her story to be told. So I will be sharing that with you guys tonight. Luz, I am a single mother of 2 and have worked at a restaurant serving people and cooking for the last 3 years. I have been in this country undocumented for 25 years. My oldest son, who was born here, lost his job, and when we tried to file for unemployment, he did not hear back. When this crisis started 3 months ago, our boss reassured us that we would stay open and not to worry because he would call in a private company to disinfect the restaurant. Towards the end of March, we were still open and my coworker got sick. He went to get tested for COVID-19 and tested positive. We all decided to not show up to work the next day. And when our boss called us, he said not to worry, that the restaurant is being disinfected, even though our coworker got sick, to come back. We said we wouldn't return, and then the stay-at-home order was made. Since the end of March, I've been rationing food. It was a horrible feeling not knowing what the future will hold for us. When I heard the government was going to send out a check of $1,200, I felt relieved. I can pay the rent and buy groceries with my son, but you see, I did not get a check. I do pay my taxes, so I did not understand why I was left out. I found out that my coworkers and other people in my family also did not receive a check. Then on the news, I heard that people without papers did not qualify for that money. I am heartbroken, stressed, and frustrated. I work and I pay my taxes. This is so wrong. I don't receive any financial assistance. My boss called me yesterday and said if I don't go back by the end of this week, mind you, violating stay-at-home orders by opening the restaurant, then I can consider myself fired. I need the money, and I don't have the luxury of health insurance where I can go and see a doctor when I'm feeling sick. I am relying on local food banks to get food for my son, but I still have to wait days to hear back if I'm able to pick it up. Are we the people who work day in and out not worthy of receiving a fund to help us stay afloat when we give back to this country our blood, sweat, and tears? So I can go ahead and do the Spanish translation from what Luz had shared. Soy madre soltera de 2 hijos y he trabajado en un restaurante de mesera y cocinera durante los últimos 3 años. He estado en este país indocumentada durante 25 años. Mi hijo mayor, que nació aquí, perdió su trabajo y cuando trató de solicitar el desempleo, no recibió respuesta. Cuando esta crisis comenzó hace 3 meses, nuestro jefe nos aseguró que permaneceremos abiertos y no nos preocupemos porque llamaría a una empresa privada para desinfectar el restaurante. Hacia finales de marzo todavía estábamos abiertos y mi compañero de trabajo se enfermó. Fue a hacerse la prueba de COVID-19 y dio positivo. Todos decidimos no presentarnos al trabajo al día siguiente. Y cuando nuestro jefe nos llamó, dijo que no nos preocupáramos de que el restaurante está siendo desinfectado. A pesar de que nuestro compañero de trabajo se enfermó, el jefe decía regresar. Dijimos que no regresaríamos y luego se hizo la orden de quedarnos en nuestras casas. Desde finales de marzo he estado racionando comida. Fue un sentimiento horrible no saber lo que nos espera al futuro. Cuando escuché que el gobierno iba a enviar un cheque de $1,200, me sentí aliviada de poder pagar la renta y comprar comida con mi hijo. Pero ya ves que no recibí un cheque y eso que pago mis impuestos. Así que no entendí por qué me quedé afuera. Descubrí que mis compañeros de trabajo y otras personas de mi familia tampoco recibieron un cheque. Luego en las noticias dijeron que las personas sin papeles no califican para ese dinero. Estoy desconsolada, estresada y frustrada. Trabajo y pago mis impuestos. Esto está muy mal, no recibo ninguna asistencia financiera. Mi jefe me llamó ayer y me dijo que si no regreso a fines de esta semana, violando las órdenes de quedarse en casa abriendo su restaurante, entonces puedo considerarme despedida. Necesito el dinero y no tengo el lujo de tener un seguro de médico donde me sienta mal y puedo ir al médico. Estoy confiando en los bancos de alimentos locales para obtener comida para mi hijo menor, pero tengo que esperar días para escuchar de regreso y poder recoger la comida. Aquí trabajamos día a día. ¿Cómo es posible que no merecemos recibir un fondo para ayudarnos a mantenernos a flote cuando devolvemos a este país nuestra sangre, sudor y lágrimas? Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa, for sharing Luz's story. So many of our community members are facing harassment as essential workers, and that's why we're fighting for this legislation, to ensure that no one must work unsafely in order to feed their families. We're gonna transition now to our 4th speaker, Juan Carlos Landa, who is a member of the Street Vendor Project.
Ok, ¿pueden escucharme bien?
Sí.
Sí, ok. Hola, mi nombre es Juan Carlos y soy un vendedor en el norte del Bronx y un miembro del proyecto de vendedores ambulantes. Usualmente vendía fuera de una escuela pública y vendo dulces y helados, dependiendo la temporada. Mi testimonio y mi llamado es hacia el gobernador Cuomo y a las autoridades, porque esta crisis me ha afectado muchísimo y sin ningún tipo de ayuda del gobierno he estado ansioso, estresado y preocupado por proveer a mi familia, pagar la renta y servicios. Los vendedores ambulantes estaban en crisis antes incluso de la pandemia, luchando por más permisos, pero ahora es peor todavía. Dejamos de salir a vender, en este caso mi papá y yo, porque no quería poner en riesgo la salud de mi papá con quien vivo. Él tiene 70 años y tiene que soportar también a mi mamá en México y también tiene que salir a vender por esa razón. Mi madre tiene diabetes y he notado también que muchos de nuestros clientes, que la mayoría son latinos, muchos de ellos han perdido sus trabajos. Miembros de sus familias no tienen dinero para comida, la renta y servicios básicos. Ahora que no lo podemos hacer, es muy difícil, casi imposible cubrir los gastos aún pidiendo comida o apoyo en las escuelas, organizaciones o iglesias. Entonces me parece que no es justo que excluyan a los inmigrantes y familias mixtas, porque también somos neoyorquinos y demandamos un alivio económico para todos los trabajadores esenciales, inmigrantes e indocumentados. Can I start with English? Okay. Hello, my name is Juan Carlos. I am a street vendor in the North Bronx and a member of a street vendor project. I usually vend outside a public school, selling candies and ice cream. Governor Cuomo, this crisis has affected me greatly, and without any help from the government, I have been in a state of anxiety, stress, and worried about providing for my family and paying the rent and services. Street vendors were in crisis before the pandemic, fighting for more permits, but now it's worse than ever. My father and I, we stopped going out to sell because I did not want to do anything to reach my father's health, with whom I live. He's 70 years old, and also he's a vendor who has to go out to sell to support my mother in Mexico, who has diabetes. The majority of our clients are Latino. Many of them have lost their jobs. Some members of their families, they don't have money for food, for rent, or much less for an ice cream. Since the first week of March, we have been concerned about expenses as we have stopped receiving our daily sales income, which was enough to pay the rent, food, and services. Now that we can vend, it's very difficult, almost impossible to cover the expenses, even though we are asking for food in the schools, from community organizations or churches. It's not fair that federal aid excludes immigrants and mixed status families because we are also New Yorkers. We demand economic relief for all essential workers, immigrants and undocumented workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Juan Carlos, for sharing. It is not fair. It is not fair by any means that federal aid excludes immigrants and mixed status families because everyone is a New Yorker. And we need government scale relief. Community-based organizations and churches alone cannot sustain the relief that all of our communities need. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to be hearing from Martin Hernandez of the Restaurant Opportunity Center. Martín.
Sí, hola, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Martín, soy miembro de Rock. Hace 2 años yo llegué de México buscando una mejor oportunidad. Y yo soy uno de los tantos desempleados que hemos quedado sin empleo, ¿me entiende? Esta situación que está pasando es muy difícil, ¿no? Yo tengo 12 años aquí, desde que llegué he trabajado siempre en restaurantes. Nunca había habido algo así como ahora, o sea, nunca me había imaginado algo así. Tengo dos niños, nacidos aquí, mis hijos, y al último yo todavía trabajé unos días con mi patrón, ya había despedido a algunos empleados. Yo fui uno de los últimos, ya nomás éramos 2 empleados, pero yo dejé de ir porque yo me enfermé. Entonces, yo me enfermé y digo, no, pues ya no pude ir. Yo llamé a mi patrón, le dije, no voy a ir más porque me siento mal. Él me entendió, dijo, ok, quédate en casa, recupérate y tú sabes lo que tengas que hacer, si es necesario ir al hospital o algo así. Yo, ok. Él me dijo que yo le llamara cuando me recuperara, pero pues gracias a Dios sí yo me recuperé, pero yo también tomé la decisión de no regresar a mi trabajo por ahora porque por lo mismo de que pues, la pandemia todavía aún sigue, todavía un poco, entonces por el miedo de volverme a contagiar o contagiar a mi familia, yo decidí no regresar. Yo trabajaba en Manhattan, este, y espero y los legisladores, el gobernador que nos puedan ayudar, que nos puedan dar una ayuda, porque nosotros como migrantes hemos sido excluidos de la ayuda que pues a ellos ya les dieron, pero nosotros pues no. Y nosotros seguimos pagando nuestras rentas, nuestros biles, porque eso sigue y eso los dueños, ellos no entienden y ellos quieren que uno les pague. Y pues esperemos y haya alguna ayuda para nosotros como migrantes. Y pues eso es todo. Ojalá y aprueben esa ayuda que realmente la necesitamos. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Martin Hernandez. I am a member of ROC. 12 years ago, I arrived here from Mexico looking for employment. I, like many, came to this country looking for a better opportunity and a better future for me and my 2 kids. I've been working in the restaurants for over 12 years. Before the pandemic started, I was working in a restaurant in a kitchen in Manhattan. Although I was one of the last ones who was let go, when I started feeling sick, I had to tell my boss that I could not come in. It's been over 2 months without work, without any relief, and the truth is I don't think my employer is going to call me back. This fund would help me survive. The bills haven't stopped. The rent is still due. My family still needs to eat. This fund would be nothing more than some relief that every worker should receive. I do not want my need for employment to lead me to put my health or that of my family at risk. All the electeds on the call today, please support this legislation. It can save me, my family, and my health. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for sharing. I just want to reiterate one sentence that Martin said. He said, the bills haven't stopped, the rent is still due, and my family still needs to eat. Today is an opportunity for our legislators to step in and make a change that would directly affect the life of Martin and of all New Yorkers who have been excluded from relief and are trying to survive and take care of their families. I want to acknowledge two folks who've joined us, Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal. Apologies for the delay in introducing you, and thank you for joining us. And Senator Robert Jackson, who's here with us as well. Thank you to everyone who's here for sharing and for listening as well. I'm going to take us to our final speaker, Araceli Torres of the New York Nail Salon Workers Association. Araceli.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Araceli Torres. Soy trabajadora de salón. Soy mexicana viviendo en el Bronx. Tengo 2 hijos y formo parte de la Asociación de Trabajadoras de Salones de Uñas, que tiene más de 800 miembros. La mayoría de nuestros miembros viven en las áreas de Queens y el Bronx, las más impactadas por el virus. Muchas de mis compañeras y familias se han enfermado y en los peores casos han muerto. Desde el 22 de marzo, los salones de uñas han estado cerrados. Desde entonces, no hemos tenido ningún ingreso y nos ha impactado demasiado, dado a que nuestro sueldo era muy bajo y más de 80% de nuestros miembros sufren robo de salario. Es difícil ahorrar. La mayoría de los trabajadores han sido excluidos de cualquier alivio estatal y federal debido a su estatus migratorio. En respuesta a la crisis, creamos fondo para un poco de alivio para nosotras, pero esto no es suficiente. El gobierno necesita hacer más. No podemos pagar la renta o tener lo básico para sobrevivir si no estamos trabajando. Nuestras vidas son importantes. Tenemos que asegurar que todos los trabajadores puedan superar esta crisis. Y es por eso que hoy estamos unidos con otras organizaciones, hoy exigiendo alivio para todos. Gracias.
Good evening. I'll be translating for Araceli. My name is Araceli Torres, and I am a nail salon worker in the Bronx. Originally from Mexico, I now live in the Bronx with my 2 sons, and I am a member of the New York Nail Salon Workers Association, which has more than 800 members. Most of our members live in the area of Queens and the Bronx, which also has been most affected by the virus. A lot of my compañeras and their families have gotten sick, and in the worst cases, we know of many who have already passed away. Nail salons were ordered to close on March 22nd, and since then, we have not had any form of income. This has had a huge impact on us, especially since our wages were low and over 80% of the workers experienced wage theft, making it difficult to save. The majority of nail salon workers have been excluded from state and federal relief due to immigration status. In response to the crisis, we created a fund to offer a bit of relief for workers, but we know that that will not be enough. The government needs to do more. We simply cannot pay rent or meet our basic needs if we are not able to work. Our lives are important. We have had to make sure that all workers are able to get through this crisis, which is why we are joining with other organizations here today in demanding recovery for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Araceli, for sharing. As you have heard today, as everyone has heard today, New Yorkers are struggling to survive. Many are being forced to make the choice between housing and food, a choice that no one should have to make. Immigrant workers are being relied on to make sure New York City continues to run, that clothes are washed, that food is served, that housing is built, but they are not being fairly compensated. They are suffering from a lack of personal protective equipment as well. Each person that you heard from today is a New Yorker who deserves equal respect and relief because they are neighbors, they are community leaders, and above all, they're human beings. So now I'm going to pass the mic to Jose Antonio Galdemes from the National Day Laborer Organizing Network, who has a question to ask of the elected officials present here today. Jose, when you're ready.
Muy buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es José Antonio Galdames. Represento a los jornaleros de Yoncas, de la Red Nacional de Jornaleros. Y vivo en el estado de Nueva York por 12 años. Después de haber escuchado a nuestros compañeros, queremos saber si ustedes, los senadores y asambleístas, se comprometen a aumentar los impuestos a los billonarios en nuestro estado para poder salir de esta crisis que nos está afectando a todos y que a los trabajadores como nosotros tengamos la oportunidad de tener lo necesario para alimentar a nuestras familias. ¿Están de acuerdo ustedes en hacer eso?
Thank you, Jose. I'm going to translate. Hello, my name is Jose Antonio, and I'm a day laborer. I'm here representing day laborers. I live in Yonkers, and I've lived in New York for 12 years. Will you, senators and assembly members, commit to taxing the billionaires in our state and ensure that excluded workers like me have what we need to survive this crisis, to feed our families? Are you in agreement with us? So now, senators, assembly members, this is our chance to be hearing from you, from your responses. You've heard from folks from all across Manhattan, from Bronx, from Westchester, about what they're going through and how they've been affected by not just the health crisis, but the economic fallout of COVID. So now Angeles is going to be pulling up a chart which lists where each of our state Senate and Assembly members stand in terms of their support for the Worker Bailout Fund. So now is your chance. We're going to call on each person who's joined us today, each elected official, and ask your position. If you support, if you are opposing, or if you're still considering ensuring that all New Yorkers deserve equal relief. As I call your name, please type either opposing, considering, or supporting into the chat box, and Angeles will update the chart with your answer. And then as we call your names, this is also an opportunity to ask any questions, either to the folks who've spoken today or regarding the bill. And when your name is called, feel free to ask those questions, and Carmen de la Rosa, who is our lead sponsor, will answer any questions about the bill. So first, going to be, let's hear from Assembly Member Phil Steck.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So first of all, I represent a district that's nowhere near New York City. My district is 3 hours north of the city. I also do not believe, although I've been, there's probably no one in the New York State Assembly that's been more of an advocate for raising revenue than I. And I certainly think the billionaires should be taxed. There's no question of that. However, the amount of money raised by a billionaire's tax is not going to be enough to fill the budget hole and create this new fund. You have a $13 billion budget hole that has to be filled related to coronavirus. And even before the coronavirus, there was a hole in the budget. I am one of the very few who voted against the revenue bill. And in my remarks, I said, because the revenue was not enough. I'll support the billionaire's tax for sure, but I am much more in favor of restoring the stock transfer tax, which New York had from 1905 to 1981. It raises maybe 3 times as much revenue as the billionaire's tax does. It has the advantage that it taxes a lot of people who don't even live in New York State, might not even live in the United States, wealthy people that come here to trade in securities. So I think that my concern, based on what I've heard in the Democratic conference, is that the billionaire's tax will not raise enough revenue to enable this fund to be created. The fund that you're talking about, I think you said is $3 billion, and that's all the billionaires tax is going to raise. Where are you going to get the money to fill all the other needs that are out there? So I think that unless we're ready to go full on with the stock transfer tax, I'm not sure that this, billionaires tax, as good as it is, doesn't really get you where you want to go.
Well, thank you, Assemblymember Steck, for supporting the legislation. I think this is a big step. I also want to say that we support the stock transfer tax that you've mentioned, but that the mark-to-market billionaire wealth tax will raise about $5 billion.
Stock transfer tax is 3 times that.
Okay, well, we're
You
absolutely.
don't have enough with this mark-to-market, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't get to there.
We're absolutely in support of the stock transfer tax that you're mentioning as well, and we look forward to discussing more about it. I'm going to pass the mic now to Assemblymember Michael Blake, and he'd love to hear if you're supporting, considering, or neither. Assemblymember Michael Blake. Okay, so we're going to now hear from Assemblymember Harvey Epstein, who's here with us tonight.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah,
yes.
Great. So yeah, I'm supportive of the bill, but I actually think we need to do a lot more than just that. I think Carmen has a great bill that we're moving in the right direction. And I agree that with Phil that we need to deal with the stock transfer tax, but we need also a comprehensive plan, on rent for tenants who aren't documented. We need a comprehensive plan for insurance for people who aren't documented. We need a comprehensive plan that moves so much of the work forward. And I applaud the work that Assemblywoman De La Rosa is doing, and I look forward to this passage, but I encourage us all to push us more to do the right thing. We need to pass this bill, but a much more comprehensive package of bill that impacts so many tenants on rent and services and healthcare. The list is long, and we can all do it if we have the revenue before us.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for your support and for signing on, and for also raising the alarm that we are also calling for rent to be canceled. I see that Assemblymember De La Rosa has raised her hand and would like to share.
Yes, I just wanted to thank my colleagues for joining the call today. Obviously, in this town hall, we're talking specifically about the millionaires to market tax, but many of us, and I think Assemblymember Steck, Assemblymember Epstein, and many others have voiced our concerns around the need to have a robust conversations around revenue raisers. I think Assemblyman Steck is right. Many of us voted no on the budget for this same reason, because we felt that it didn't go far enough, amongst other issues that existed there. And many of us are still having conversations around revenue raisers. But I do think 2 things. One, that, while this is a new model that is being discussed here today, the basis of this model is to make sure that everyone is included in the recovery, right? And we are going to need to come up with a lot more money than just this. It creates $5.5 billion, and of that, 3.5 will go into the worker bailout fund. But in addition to that, we have to make sure that those who have not been able to receive any help from government, not on the federal level, not on the state level, and very little on the local level, are included in the recovery. Because as you've heard today, these are the stories of many people who live in our communities, and many people who, maybe for those of you that don't have a lot of undocumented or a lot of immigrant folks living in your community, they are the family members of others, and they're also New Yorkers. So they deserve to be part of the recovery. And so while this is not a fix-all approach, I think it's a step in the right direction. I know that Phil has the stock transfer tax. I know that Harvey has the what's your tax, Harvey? The Mezzi tax. I know that Deborah Glick has the pediatric tax. And so there's a lot that we're going to have to generate revenue for in order for us to get our state out of the hole that it's in. But this is definitely something that should be part of that conversation to raise revenue. So I thank you for taking the opportunity to listen to these stories and to understand the hurt that has been inflicted in our communities. When we say that Latinos and African Americans have been the #1 communities impacted by COVID, that's not a talking point, right? Our people are dying every single day. And in order for us to make sure that those of us that are lucky enough to survive this are able to put food on the table and not be evicted, we need to get some money in the pockets of folks. And this will go a long way towards that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that and for introducing and being such a strong advocate for all of our immigrant communities, for introducing this bill. I'm going to, now I want to acknowledge Senator Jackson has to hop off to a community board meeting, but he said that he has signed on in support.
So yeah, the bill, I've already signed on to it, but the bottom line, even today on the Brian Lair show, what I was talking about, we have so many people that are the working class of our city and those that are undocumented that make up the infrastructure of this city. And they are all essential workers. And we must consider them as far as legislation is concerned. So one, I've said that the two most important things that people want right now is they have to feed their family and they have to have shelter. Those are the two main things. And I've been a fighter for education. Education is so important because that makes the future leaders, our children, the future leaders of our state and our city. But the primary thing right now during this pandemic is food and shelter. And as a result of the fact that some of these people that spoke, like for example, you have the New York Women's Chambers of Commerce that deal with nail salon workers and what have you. And I've been supportive of them. And they also spoke when we had the 12-hour hearing on the negative impact of the pandemic on people of color. And so that's what we're talking about. So I've been supportive of it. And in fact, I have a bill that funds billions of dollars for education. But right now, in my opinion, education is not the most important thing. Most important thing is the survival, food and shelter, and healthcare for the people we represent. So
Thank you very much, Senator Jackson. Thank you for your support.
You're welcome.
I'm going to ask now to Assemblymember Rosenthal if she is in support. Yes.
I am in strong support. I agree with what everyone else said. We have billionaires, multimillionaires in this state, and they are getting richer through this pandemic. Just look at Jeff Bezos, who has like 10 units in one of the wealthy buildings in my district. We can't let them get richer and let people who are in need just sink deeper into a hole, even as they are frontline workers. It's unconscionable. And, you know, maybe the governor doesn't have an appetite to raise taxes, but I know a lot of us in the assembly do. And that's what we're pushing for, because that's the right way to save people in terrible plight, is to get money into their pockets, take it from people whose pockets are overflowing. And I have the bill with Senator Jackson on funding the CFE, but there are many great bills that I'm sponsor of. And I look forward to fighting this fight. It's a great thing to organize everyone, because there's so many people out there suffering and we have to address their needs. And I have a town hall of my own that I got to jump, but thanks for calling on me and thanks for doing this. And we'll keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you for your support and good luck for your town hall.
Thank you.
Call on now Assemblymember Karina Reyes, who is our first Assembly member to join this evening.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I want to say some words in Spanish first. Gracias a todos por su testimonio tan conmovedor. Y quiero que sepan que yo he firmado mi nombre en apoyo a este proyecto de ley. Y también, igual como mis otros colegas, nosotros estamos apoyando otros proyectos de ley que suben el ingreso del Estado para poder cubrir los costos de la pandemia, y sabemos que muchos de nuestros trabajadores esenciales, que desafortunadamente tuvimos que esperar que una pandemia los hiciera esenciales, pero la realidad es que nuestra comunidad inmigrante y indocumentada siempre ha sido esencial en todos los servicios de esta ciudad y de este país. Y es muy importante que nosotros los reconocemos y que le demos la ayuda necesaria para que ustedes puedan sobrevivir durante este tiempo. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to thank all the speakers because they had great testimony, and I think it's very prudent and it's unfortunate that we had to wait for a pandemic to happen for us to realize how essential our immigrant community really is to the survival of the city. Without them, many of us wouldn't have food on the shelves at the supermarkets, food wouldn't be served, our clothes wouldn't be washed. And I think it's so important that we help them in this time of need. And like all my colleagues, I agree, there are plenty of pieces of legislation that look to raise revenue. And I think it has to be a multi-pronged approach. And we have to look at raising revenue across the board, not just from the wealthiest, but stock transfer tax, pied-à-terre tax. There are many creative ways that we have proposed and many of us have sponsored to help raise some revenue and really help the struggling community in New York. So thank you all, and I'm happy to be supportive of this piece of legislation.
Amazing. Glad to have your support, and thank you for sharing and supporting. I'm going to now recognize Senator Bailey, Staff Member Saul, who's been on with us representing Senator Bailey. Apologies for missing you earlier. And then I would like to see if there's any legislators who are on who have not spoken yet. Or if not, if there are any staff members who are on who would like to comment in the chat about where their staff member's position is. Okay, great. Well, thank you to all who have shared their stories today. And as you have so clearly heard from folks, we are all angry that billionaires in New York are getting richer while immigrant families go hungry. We are continuing to urge and work together with the elected officials present here who've signed on in support to pass this legislation to ensure that we can all survive this crisis. We encourage all elected officials present today to speak up about this legislation and this week in all of the meetings that you're going to be a part of with other legislators. Doesn't matter if it's a completely different topic, getting the word out is essential. I'm going to pass the mic off to Angeles, who's going to share some of our upcoming actions that we have this week.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to thank everyone again for joining. Assembly members and senators, we will be following up with you for a sponsorship slip and a statement of support. We are not done until we make sure that all immigrant workers, all New Yorkers, regardless of immigration status, get relief. I do want to direct viewers and folks tonight to our website where they can access the legislation, our press and publications, including a number of powerful reports from the Fiscal Policy Institute and other allies. To our website here, it is fundexcludedworkers.org. Our members and members of the 84 organizations in this coalition are calling our state leadership, including Governor Cuomo's office, every single day, drowning the switchboard with calls that you can access through our website here with the call your legislators. If you are a new organization watching tonight and you have not endorsed the legislation, you can also sign on with a letter of support here. And please continue to share and sign the petition. Again, all can be accessed through our website at fundexcludedworkers.org. Of course, despite the social distancing, despite our members not being able to gather, we are still organizing from home. Just because we can't be together doesn't mean that we are not in this fight. So we are encouraging everyone here to participate in a statewide banner drop on June 5th with the demand for fund excluded workers. We want to make sure that not just the elected officials who have joined us tonight, but every elected official and representative of New Yorkers sees what we're trying to get across here. And that's that our people have either the choice to continue to go find work in an economy that's closed or go hungry. And we can't allow that to happen. Thank you, Karina. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Angeles. So as you know, this was the second of 3 town halls hearing from workers from across New York State. The third and final series of these town halls, the Excluded Workers Fund, will take place this Thursday, May 28th, from 6 to 7 p.m. on Facebook Live, and we'll be featuring the stories and testimonies from workers from Long Island. So thank you for everyone who was here today. Thank you for being in the fight together. Thank you to everyone who shared their stories. We will continue to make sure that every single person in New York State is receiving adequate and equal just relief. No one should be left out. So thank you all and have a great evening.